The Department of Justice wrapping its case in the landmark antitrust trial against Google. Now it's the tech giant's turn to make its case in court. And joining us right now is Columbia Law School professor Tim Wu. He also served as an advisor to the Biden administration, and he's known as an architect of its antitrust policies. So, Tim, let's talk through where we stand right now. The government made its case. How strong of a blow do you think they made in terms of trying to go after this? How strong is their case?
I think the case is strong, and I think one of the advantages of the case is relatively simple. There's this big number at the center, which isn't public, but maybe
it is
about...
now.
Oh, is it public? Well,
oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, but something like...
Oh, I thought you meant the $10 billion.
Yeah, that's some huge sum of money going from Google to Apple in exchange for being the monopoly search engine, maybe in exchange for Apple not going into search itself.
Yeah.
I think that has been their core line. They've stuck with it. It's been pretty straightforward. Division of markets, monopoly maintenance.
I will say the government has persuaded me to some extent over the course of this time, because I originally looked at this as like saying, okay, people pay for the ends of grocery store aisles too.
Yeah.
But I think in that case, there's a lot more people who can pay for different ends of the grocery aisle who can get along with it. If you look at what they did, it was $10 billion has been the number that's been thrown out in some cases, $18 billion in other places.
Yeah.
Even Microsoft saying that it couldn't compete with those kinds of numbers. But as a result, you didn't see DuckDuckGo or whatever that one is, or you didn't see Bing, you didn't see other ones that were ever out on that. And even though they may have tried in the past, they couldn't get access.
I think they had also some strong evidence from people, smaller startup search engines, branch different types of technologies that people hadn't seen before, tried to get started. Everyone's like, I'm sorry, we got this deal with Google. I'm sorry. So it started to hurt, the little guys, and I think that also helps the case. That came out later.
How does this hurt consumers?
How does it hurt consumers? Consumers are always helped by choice. Almost every market in the United States, you have at least 2 or 3 things. And, Google can get away with stuff. They don't have to protect privacy. They don't have to lower what they charge to advertisers. Every product in America is slightly more expensive if it advertises on Google.
Let me ask you to flip the script. How would you defend Google against what the government has said?
So Google's defense has always been that our search engine is the best. The reason Apple wants it is it's the best. The reason people don't like Bing, we have smarter employees, we've sharpened the algorithm. It's not about scale, it's all about just getting exactly right, and that's why we're winning, we're better.
Which, look, I will say in the past when I've tried Bing, it's ticked me off. It doesn't give me the search results I want. They have a case there. I guess the weakness is, why do you have to pay $10 or $18 billion to keep everybody off if that's the case?
That is the thing they have never been able to explain. Right. And would the world be worse with an Apple search engine that was competing,
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah, sure.
Would you feel differently? To me, the one fact that works on your side in a wholly different way is if they were still paying Apple, but Apple was allowed to develop its own search engine at the same time, because effectively what they did was have a standstill agreement with Apple as to what they would do themselves on the search side, right? I mean, that's what came out during the case. To me, that's actually the most interesting piece, that Apple basically said, we're not going to do anything more than we were doing basically in 2016, I want to say.
Yeah.
If that piece was not there, so Apple could develop something if they wanted to, but now make it more interesting and suggest they decide not to. It's not contractual that they decided not to. They just decided, we're not doing it.
Right.
Would that change the dynamic to you of this situation?
A little bit. It could be that Apple, like Bing, is unable to realize they can't do anything well enough because of the default position being paid for. Or maybe they still think they make enough money. It does make it a little different. It does make it a little bit different.
I'll just answer most easily. To me, that's the most unattractive fact in basically the whole case.
Right.
If you're Google. Is
that a decent remedy? Is that a decent remedy the government would accept? I
think the government should be asking for some side of breakup to begin with. They should be asking for Chrome, to be sold by Google. But saying knock it off is not a bad thing.
Tim, I have to say, every remedy we've talked to you about, from Amazon and beyond, you go directly to breakup. That these companies are just too big to exist. That caught me off guard when you told me breakup.
I didn't quite say that.
Well, you told me breakup should be on the table for Amazon, and that should be there. And if you think the government remedy should be breakup and you have to sell Google, do you just think every one of these companies is just too big to not be a monopoly?
I think there is a problem when companies get too large and tend to start to stifle innovation. I think we've seen that over and over again.
But is that a function of,
AT&T.
is the size and scale you're talking about is also capital? That's a piece we don't really talk about.
That's true.
And is capital unto itself a monopolistic lever in this game? So you say, spin off or sell or do something to Chrome. Yeah. That would solve your problem, the Chrome unto itself, if Chrome was eliminated? You're not, because I think underneath it you're saying sell YouTube separately. So, I mean, I think it's a much broader sort of story, I think, underneath what you're saying.
I am, focused on the case itself right now. And I think if you want competition in search, you want competition in AI, you need more places you can get started. And right now, where you need to get started in search, everything is owned by Google. And everything in AI is owned by Google or Microsoft. And I think there needs more openings for more small, VC-funded, whatever companies to get their start. And that means, when you have a couple actors controlling all the entry points, we don't have competition. We're back in the 70s. And I think we need to be in the 80s and 90s. Are they controlling
the entry points or are they controlling capital? Because to me, the OpenAI story is one about capital. It's who could provide tens of billions of dollars of access to capital and compute effectively to make this thing work, right? And you're having a similar thing happening now. Amazon is getting into the game. Why are they getting into the game? Because they have the compute and they have the capital to support this. I don't know if there's a venture capital firm or series of firms that are prepared to put up $30 billion right now for one of these AI models yet. Well, maybe.
I'll say two things. I think capital goes where there's opportunity, and where there's no opportunity, capital never goes. So if there's more than one place to get started, if it's more like the internet in the 90s or the computer in the 80s, capital will go there.
It's not just that these were the best operators, the best. They operate the best. They came up with the best plan.
We could have said that about IBM. That was true. Was true. They're no longer the best.
But it didn't take IBM. It didn't take the government to break down IBM.
The government had a huge role in breaking IBM's.
But IBM's troubles that they have had lately have been.
Well, Facebook. These companies also. Google also has problems, and the question is whether these one great companies are just locking everything up and preventing capital, which has always powered innovation. I agree, from exploiting the opportunities that are there.
A great fear of the government and over-regulation and over-involvement and things like this also is bad for capital.
I agree, but we're not talking about we're talking about law enforcement. We're talking about opening things up.
The law is in the eye of the beholder. I mean, a monopoly is in the eye of the beholder. Everybody wants a monopoly. You just can't violate the law.
You want a legal
monopoly. That store right over there is not a monopoly. I think Google and Amazon are monopolies. I mean, there's differences
the operative
here.
term was I think. I
think Google's having an extraordinary. I think a judge, the law will find that Google is a monopolist. Their big claim here is that Amazon competes with them in search. That's their defense to the monopoly theory, because people.
Well, and that's the most interesting thing that's probably developed in the last, call it, 3, 4, 5 years, which is that Amazon has actually developed a massive search business, a different type of search business, but a massive search business. And if they were such a monopoly, part of what you'd say is that they shouldn't be that business wouldn't exist the way it does, right? And that's the complicated part of it.
But going back to consumers, I think consumers look for a lot of stuff on Google that you can't find on Amazon, like weather. Where do you find NASDAQ? I don't know, things like that.